Today we're going to talk about the most optimal way to train for strength. We're going to talk about what the best way to train for strength is, how we train for strength, whether a bow split is better than a whole body split, whether then calisthenics is better than strength training to build strength, etc. We're going to dive into it today in every way you possibly know.
There's always been a big debate between bodybuilders and people who train strength. So like people always argue that Sam Sulek, as much as he looks a great bodybuilder and has a great aesthetic, do the muscles promote as much strength as say someone's training for strongman? Now, I'm going to place a little bit of argument here. He's strong, but he will not be as strong as someone who's solely conditioned for strength training.
Of course.
Because there's a reason that his training is slightly different. You don't see him doing the standard movements of a strongman.
Welcome back to the Perform Well podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're looking for performance and wellness optimization so that you can not only smash your career, but also have a better life, better relationships, and better health. We believe that performance and wellness are yin and yang and work together. So listen in as we dive into topics that are going to help you optimize your life for the better. Welcome back to another episode today, guys, and I think we're on episode 40 today. God, if it is, I don't know. Today we're going to talk about the most optimal way to train for strength. We're going to talk about what the best way to train for strength is, how we train for strength, whether a bow split is better than a whole body split, whether then calisthenics is better than strength training to build strength, etc. We're going to dive into it today in every way you possibly know.
There's going to be an all-out war in this room in terms of training types. So if you didn't already know, Nick's
I've trained in every way.
He has.
I've trained in every way, Dan.
Yeah, I'm very much. I love a bit of strength. Strength and muscle building is still kind of a forte of mine. But
because everyone's like, "Oh, Nick just does calisthenics, bro." I was a bodybuilder. I went on stage. I've lifted heavy weights. I've done calisthenics. I've done everything.
Cycled miles.
Mate,
got caught in Storm Kathleen.
I'll tell you some shit about strength, bro. Trust me.
Let the games begin.
I've never done powerlifting actually. That's the only. That might be something I want to do, but I don't want to be a bellend. So. And I find powerlifters are the most aggressive and needlessly like loud people in the gym. I respect you, but
I don't know what you're on about.
You're a powerlifter.
Look, I was gonna go for comp, and then I got injured. Okay, so
until you do a powerlifter, you're not a cock.
What? Until I do a powerlifter, I'm not a cock.
Yeah. When you do a powerlifter, then you'll officially be a cock.
Okay, fine. That's
cock
just
Dan.
Lord cock. All right, so we're talking about strength and how to optimize your training. I think the important thing is there's a lot of information out there about optimal training processes. First thing we want you guys to know, it's what you guys stay consistent with that's going to build your strength up over time. Strength is a very variable performance indicator. So yeah, strength is one of those things that is more likely to, it comes and goes quicker than muscle gain. So muscles, an atrophy of muscles occurs after 2 weeks. Strength you can lose after 3 to 4 days, I do believe. If you're
but you can also gain it back quick.
You can also gain it back quick. So it's one of the, like
a yo-yo.
We talk about when people came out of COVID, got straight back into lifting and they could still hit decent numbers, you know? It does come back quick, but you have to train it well to keep increasing it over time.
Well, strength obviously, muscle growth is like different, obviously. The reason why primarily is because strength is a neuromuscular thing, which is, you know, your nerves in your body can switch on and switch off very quickly, very rapidly, and they can adapt to certain things depending on what you put on it very quickly. So if you're not training for a week, your neuromuscular system can actually take the neuromuscular activity away from the muscles that you're training and apply it elsewhere where it's needed to create homeostasis and keep you function as a human being. And then obviously when you come back, your neuromuscular system is going to be detrained slightly, but it only takes a few sessions to get back up.
There's always been a big debate between bodybuilders and people who train strength. So like people always argue that Sam Sulek, as much as he looks a great bodybuilder and has a great aesthetic, do the muscles promote as much strength as say someone's training for strongman? Now, I'm going to place a little bit of argument here. He's strong, but he will not be as strong as someone who's solely conditioned for strength training.
Of course. Because
there's a reason that his training is slightly different. You don't see him doing the standard movements of a strongman.
Let's compare.
Go on.
Let's compare calisthenic athletes to bodybuilders, because this will explain the myofibril, hypertrophy, and sarcoplasmic, which we're going to explain in a second. Because calisthenic athletes are not predominantly big, but they are very strong. For their body weight, they can do things that bodybuilders can't do, and strongmen can't even do some of the stuff they can do. However, when we look at bodybuilders, they are so big and so juicy. You know, that's what you call them, juicy. And they will be strong as well, but they won't be able to do the other side of the spectrum. Equally, calisthenics won't be able to do the same level of intensity and volume that.
You say that. Who's the really famous Norwegian climber who climbed up the Matterhorn free climbing? Do you remember the Matterhorn? He did a video with...
And what's his name? Hanold. Alex Honnold.
He climbed up. So this guy's a free climber, basically. You could argue he's in the calisthenic space when you go into free a little bit, yeah. And he went and did a session with Larry Wheels and Juju Mufu.
Yeah.
And he went in and they were doing, I think, a seated row on a machine. Did you see this clip?
No.
But he basically, you had Larry Wheels, and Larry Wheels, we know, is fucking strong. And so is Juju Mufu, strong and flexible.
Yeah, Juju.
And he basically went to do this single arm row on the machine. And this man matched them for their weight. 4 reps with good technique.
With the same weight?
With the same weight.
That's insane, isn't
And the clip is on YouTube if you guys want to watch it. And this is where we talk about that kind of myofibril level where what you're building, you can build such dense and strong muscle, but physically, it won't look like it's there.
Yeah.
But you can still be as strong.
This is where the term old man strength comes from. Because like the typical old man strength thing basically is that you have an old man, they're quite wiry, they're quite small, but they're freakishly strong. And that's myofibril density. So on one side of the spectrum, you have myofibril density where the muscles are built like thicker and harder and they can take more load. And then sarcoplasmic is where those muscle fibers are full with more mitochondria and carbohydrates, and they're bigger and juicy, but they haven't got the strength. Juicy is the word.
Juicy is the word.
So you can build for both. You can optimize for both, for sure. But if you want to be an expert in one, then you have to deviate your training towards that more. But you do need both somewhat to actually complement each other. And training for one can also help the other too. So don't think that you could only have to train for one to get the best of both worlds.
No, for example, if we're looking at strength training as a whole, this is kind of mine and Nick's areas of expertise. This is an area that I honed in on at uni. And when we speak about strength and promoting strength, it is having a program in where you're still hitting muscle groups twice a week, but you're more focusing on the way that you're doing the actual movement. So for example, let's go nice and simple here. Squat, bench, and deadlift. Most likely these movements are used because you recruit the most amount of muscles, and it comes down to technique and motor recruitment of those muscles to create them enough power. Now, if I was going to say to you, squat for hypertrophy, you can use it for hypertrophy, but there's better squat movements like a hack squat, which is much better for building up, say, quad density. Now, when we're talking about strength, you always want to work on I personally like to work on percentage basis. That's just when I'm starting to train some of my kind of clients that want to push into the field. It's all well and good. I feel like pushing for doing like 8 reps of an exercise and becoming strong in that. But muscular strength is more built between the 1 and 5 rep range. My general opinion on the matter. And when you're looking at trying to push big numbers.
Would you say 3 to 5?
1 to 5.
Oh, 1 to 5. Yeah,
1 to 5. Yeah. 1 to 5. I'd go up to 5. I argue people going 6 to 8. You don't need to do it as more volume.
No, 6 to 8 is if you want to have that perfect blend between strength and hypertrophy. And then 8 to 12 is where you're looking for more of the bodybuilding size shape. Yeah. Obviously, you won't become a bodybuilder overnight, but that's what you're primarily looking at.
But you won't always do 1 to 5 on every single exercise. It's going to be your heavy moving.
Do you know what's interesting? Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Now, a lot of the old school bodybuilders, they would actually start off as powerlifters, and they would get freakishly strong first before they actually went to bodybuilding, because building strength can actually allow you to lift heavier loads for more volume too, which means then you can get bigger quicker. So you have to lift with lots of volume with heavy weight to get big. Right, that's primarily how you build a muscle to get it as juicy as possible, right? I love that word, juicy. Yeah. But like, that's what strength training is for. Strength training is for you to build myofibril density, but also allow you to lift heavier loads for more volume. And that is how you see the best of both worlds. So 6 to 8 reps is great if you want to like have power building shape.
Yeah, that's the one.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Power building is that word people use to like, I'm a bodybuilder and a powerlifter in one.
Yeah.
But it's just everyone that's getting strong, becoming a bodybuilder, does power building in a way, in some concept.
It's building like the foundations of it. You can argue that cardiovascular endurance that I've been doing for my triathlon training comes then into my strength training. It's that kind of hybrid style that we have spoken about on pods before. Love a hybrid style. But when we're talking about strength, it is looking at that kind of muscular strength as a whole. And I always make the argument, if you're not pushing heavy weights that push you to your limit, you will not see the adaptation in your body. Your body needs to be stressed to then create adaptation around it. If you're continuously doing 3 to 5 reps, and they're kind of pretty easy, this is where RPE scale comes in, which I'll speak about in a minute. But if they're pretty easy, you won't see those compound amounts of growth and strength that you're looking for in that department. The reason that I pride myself on my work with my clients is I can get people going from literally down at 40 kg squats to nearly 100 kg squats in less than 4 months.
Yeah.
And I know how to do that from a program standpoint. So anyone watching this, I'm here to help. But when we talk about RPE, and I don't know how much you use it with your clients as well, but RPE is one of the best metrics you can learn. Rate of perceived exertion.
I don't use a number. I don't say to them like, what's your RPE? I say to you, how do you feel?
How do you feel?
Because like that is the same thing. Yeah. It's just I don't do the science stuff as much. I like to talk to the human being.
Practical side.
Yeah, I talk to the human being, see how they feel. It's like, I felt it was pretty good, or I felt I was pretty shit. And I was like, okay, cool. Shit in what way? Okay, it hurt my knee. Okay, so this is a case of an injury. All right, cool. We can fix this. Or maybe it felt shit because my energy system's depleted. Right, now you know why, right? But yeah, no. What was I going to talk about? I was going to talk
about, what were we going to? I don't know.
I was going to talk about program design.
Yes.
Right. So how should you even train for strength? Like in the week, what's the concept? Because we talked about squat, bench, deadlift. That's if you want to be a powerlifter. They're like the main three. There's other things you can do to build strength that doesn't have to be those. However, they are one of the best things to do. And I definitely include them in my program. But should you train bro splits where you do a chest day, an arm day, a leg day, a calf day, whatever?
Specific calf day.
Yeah. Should you do whole body days, like 3 days a week, whole body days? Should you do upper, lower? Should you do push, pull legs? What would you say, Dan? I've got my ideas.
Okay, I've recently, at the minute, what I'm doing personally, just to give a little bit of context, I do a full body, an upper and a lower. So I'm training every body part twice a week to maintain muscle mass and size. But I'm also training strength because the actual sessions are less than an hour long and focus on the principles of the movements. So I'm doing, for example, a squat, a lunge and a hinge on my lower body day, and they're the only 3 movements that I do. I have enjoyed the full body, but you have to give yourself the time to do it, and it depends on how splayed out your goals are, shall we say. Because a lot of the time we'll have people come to us who say, I want to get really strong, but I also want to build muscle in these specific parts of my body, and if you're wanting to build muscle, we need a lot of volume. If we need a lot of volume, you need a lot of time. So I like the full body. I personally, if I'm looking at muscle gain, is the upper-lower split. But if I'm doing, for example, strength, primarily it's full body.
Yeah. Yeah. So I find strength. So that's good because actually, I would agree. But I find with strength training requires more recovery than volume bodybuilding training. It doesn't sound like it would be because you're exhausting yourself more in bodybuilding training. But strength training damages tendons, ligaments, not just the muscles itself, and that can cause like damage that needs time to heal. And so it's good to obviously split it the way you're splitting it because that allows you more recovery. Yeah. However, whole body can be really useful if you're going towards building strength and size and you're trying to fit everything in 3 days a week, for example, because then you get 4 days recovery, which helps with the strength side of things, recovering your ligaments, etc. It helps with the hypertrophy to make your muscles bigger because you need frequency for that to happen. So training your muscles 2 to 3 times a week can be done with 3 whole body sessions a week, whereas it can't be done so easily with 6 days bro splits. Yeah, and I find, whole body has a really good place for people that are trying to stay out of the gym most of the time and just do what they need to do to get the best shape possible in the quickest amount of time. It's
also, you got to factor in your own life factors. Yeah. I think one thing you touched on a little bit there was bro splits. The problem you've got is the frequency in which you train the muscles. The volume will be there, but the frequency won't be. If you're breaking things down to like minute, you're thinking if we're doing a back and buys, it'd be back and buys, chest, tries and shoulders from what I remember with bro split, and then you do like a leg session. That's almost push-pull legs anyway at that point in time, but you need to repeat that. You need to be training 6 times a week at the same amount of volume each session to get to that point in time. Now, I know a lot of people on here will not have the time to train 6 times in a week. I don't like training 6 times a week at the minute, but I'm doing it for a specific goal. So it's then encompassing that when we're doing stuff like full body, it gives us more time. Go on. Apologies for interrupting the podcast. We know you're getting fully engrossed into this episode, and we really appreciate you stopping on the video on YouTube or on Spotify if you found us through one of the search pages. Make sure to leave a review and a subscription if you haven't already. But we just wanted to interject a point here that me and Nick have 15 years of coaching experience between us, and it's only getting better as we've got better guests on the podcast. The only way we can do that, though, is with the growth of our program that we've just released. We've got a 12-month Perform Well program, which has just dropped, and we'd love you guys to get involved in it. If you want to learn more details, make sure to head to the description, as we've got our website in there, which can give you a full overlay of the program. We're looking to help career-driven professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone dominate their life by improving their lifestyle. Me and Nick like to claim ourselves as experts in this area, and if you want to check out some of our own other transformations, I'm sure you do. We've got some amazing people who have performed so well off the back of this program. Have a cracking day, and we really appreciate your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
So I was just going to say, when I was bodybuilding, 6 days a week was great. But the reason why bodybuilders do 6 days a week is because they're not just doing 1, 2, 3 leg exercises. They're doing 8 leg exercises in one workout. And they need to do certain leg exercises because they're trying to build the thickness. They're also trying to build this muscle more than this one because this one's small. They need to think about their calf size compared to their quads and their hamstring. You know, they've got to think about the symmetry of the body. And everyone's got different genetics. They all have different programs based on their genetics. And, you know, someone might have really well developed quads genetically, but they might have weak hamstrings, whereas another person would be the opposite. So now their program is going to look different. And so they add all these exercises and all these volume just to get that body part up that's lagging behind. And that is why they need so much more volume and so much more time in the gym to develop that. Whereas if you just did squats or leg press, for example, and that was the only exercise you did twice a week for like 3 to 4 sets, your legs would develop very nicely and they would look proportional to you. They just wouldn't look like a bodybuilder, you know, perfect symmetry, for example. You'd still get good leg size from it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like the little saying that patience is a potent medicine. Yeah. And it is. The patience when you're training on a full body one is what's going to get you the long-term results with it. In terms of doing that, like, we're advocates for it. We're talking a lot about it, but it does give you the time to focus on the movements more. Take your time with your workouts. I think when people do bro splits, you're almost just trying to get it done a lot of the time. And people do enjoy the size you can put on. Like, I've had success on bro splits before and upper lowers. It's kind of where I started my training. But the problem you've got is when you are working or have kids or you just don't have the time to train, bro splits are not the way forward for you. And you need to factor in the specific target. And now one thing I like to do with my clients now is I like to do focus sections of training where we look at doing 8 weeks working on specific muscle groups that you want to do. The other parts go on the back burner for maintenance and we really push, say, you want to get your leg size up. Okay, we can do 8 weeks focusing on your quads and I'll increase the volume in those areas, regress the others to maintenance. And this is where getting a coach is very important. I've thought about it before. I don't know if you have yourself, but getting a coach is very important to create a strategy and a direction using a workout split that's going to breed consistency, because consistency is what gets you the results. 100%. It's not just doing a workout that suddenly you're going to get wham biceps. Me and Nick have been training for years. Absolutely. What was it, like 25 years between us or something like that?
Between us?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I've done 11
years. I've been
training
since I was 15.
11 years. So what? Yeah, yours about 15 years. So
17.
Yes, it's about 27 years between us of training. And a lot of the time, we're not going to feel like we want to train. But we get the bare minimum done to stay consistent, because the man that stays consistent is going to get better results than the guy that's going all or nothing for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and obviously this is, like, I'd say probably we're more hybrid focused, maybe more strength for you at the moment, and I'm sort of more leaning towards the calisthenic aspect. So you've got to take into account we're biased in some way in terms of what we've seen works. I think if you're new to it and you've got 3 to 4 days a week that you can go to the gym, there's nothing wrong with trying a bro split initially, you know, just to get yourself used to it, see what you like. I think the best way you could start, if you're quite a busy individual building a business or you have a very busy career, is to try a full body split. Just because it requires a little bit less time in the week, you can then try and see how training your whole body feels, and then you can always deviate and work based on a periodized progressive plan to go between it.
I always talk about, just very quickly, want to touch on prioritization in a workout. If you know you are strapped for time in a workout, we like to say the 45 minutes or an hour rule. That's kind of what you're looking for most workouts, and you will get a good quality in. Prioritize your workout in order of most important movement down to least important. So for example, my last exercise today on my lower body was doing lunges, because lunges are the least important because I'm already going to hit all the muscles I want to hit doing a squat. And on that topic, we touched on it a little bit about recovery. Central nervous system recovery is as important as muscular recovery. Okay? Your central nervous system from doing strength training, even if you do high volumes of hypertrophy, is going to take a bit of a whack. It is going to take a little bit of a whack. And there are strategies to improve recovery, like, for example, having good fats in your diet from avocado, dark chocolate, and oily fish, which comes from the oleic acid, which helps your central nervous system recover. So don't neglect the central nervous system recovery too. Training can burn you out, and you need to factor that into your training programs.
And obviously when it comes to that, central nervous system fatigue does not feel the same as muscular fatigue. And you're going to feel after you've done a heavy set that you could probably go again until you actually try and do it and you realize, I can't. Because central nervous system fatigue, you need longer to rest. You need longer to rest than if you did something that was more 12 rep to 15 rep focused. So generally the rule of thumb is the higher the endurance is, the more reps you do, the less rest you're going to take, because your body's adapting differently to doing central nervous system fatigue.
I agree completely. Yeah. If you are looking for training programs or any kind of advice, please reach out to me and Nick. We want to help as many people as possible this year get their training programs in order, get their diets in order, and perform well. Funnily enough, the name of the podcast.
I love it.
That's what we're looking for. It's a title for a reason, but
you know what?
Yeah. What was that? So no, we appreciate you guys obviously watching the podcast. And if you have any guests you want to see on the podcast, if you have any topic areas you want us to cover because you've seen this straight away, because you're a committed watcher, then please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and leave us 5 stars on Spotify. We really appreciate your time. It's been a fantastic session again, and we're up to 40 episodes, which is mad. So we will catch you guys.
Perfect.
Later.